Hello, sports fans, and welcome to to the Scott Sports 101 NFL football update show. We may end up calling it an update slash recap show. And I'm sorry you didn't get a pregame show or a Thursday night football postgame show. So I'll recap all the games, beginning with the Thursday night game. And we have had a lot of surprise upsets, and we'll get to all that in just a moment. But first, here is today's Scott Sports 101 NFL Football Sunday Week 4 trivia question. And it's a Packers trivia question. Who was the Green Bay Packers head coach in 2007? I'll have the answer later on the podcast. We're going to recap all the games today and we'll begin with the Thursday night game. We'll get to the Browns in just a moment. Thursday night football, since we'll call this a recap of this game first. The Cincinnati Bengals beat the Miami Dolphins 27-15 at Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati Thursday night. Well, at Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio, Thursday night, excuse me. And I'm going to recap that game for you right now. First quarter, it was, excuse me. It was Joe Mixon up the middle for the 5-yard touchdown. McPherson's extra point was good. And it was 7-0 Bengals. Then Miami got to the Cincinnati 5. It was 4th and 4, and Jason Sanders kicked a 23-yard field goal, and it was 7-3 Cincinnati. Then Cincinnati had to punt after going 3 and out after 6 plays and 14 yards, and then the Miami Dolphins intercepted it, and it was a Tagovailoa pass deep middle intended for Tyreek Hill, intercepted by Bell at the Cincinnati 29 for no gain, and the Bengals got the ball back, and then they had a downs. I think it was a turnover on downs, I believe. And it was Adam Ginai reported as Joe Mixon. It was actually right end to Miami for no gain, and that turned over the ball. That gave the Dolphins the ball back, and it was 7-3 at the end of the first quarter. In the second quarter, Miami got to the Cincinnati 30. It was a 4th and 10. Jason Sanders with the 48-yard field goal. It was good. And it was 7-6 Bengals. Then the Bengals had the punt after going 3 and out, 3 plays and 5 yards. And then Miami got to 4th and 1 at the Cincinnati 34. Jason Sanders kicked a 52-yard field goal, but it was blocked. And so that was... And it was Gunter and Ferguson, and the holder was Morstead. And so the Bengals got the ball back, and they scored their second touchdown of the game. And it was Joe Burrow passed deep left to Higgins for a 59-yard touchdown. McPherson's extra point was good, and it was 14-6 Bengals. Second quarter. And then the Dolphins scored their second touchdown of the game. And it was Teddy Bridgewater, who took over for Tagovailoa because he went out with an injury, I believe. And passed short middle to C.J. Edmonds for the 7-yard TD. Jason Sanders' extra point was good, and it was 14-12 Bengals lead, and Jason Sanders kicked it out. Joe Burrow just kneeled for the 1 yard, and it was 14-12 at halftime. In the third quarter, Miami had to go 3 and out. They had to punt after going 3 and out, after 3 plays and minus 6 yards. And the Bengals had to punt after going 3 and out, 5 plays, 8 yards. Miami had to punt again after going 3 and out, 3 plays and 8 yards. The Bengals had to punt again after going 3 and out, 4 plays and 20 yards. And it was a 1st and 10. It was actually they got to 4th and 6 at the and that's what it calls them. They have to punt after going. I mentioned, and then Miami they got to the 4th and 2 at the Cincinnati 2-yard line. Jason Sanders kicked a 20-yard field goal, and it was good. And it was 15-14 Dolphins lead, and then the Bengals got to the. It was 4th and 1. They got to the Miami 1. And McPherson kicked a 19-yard field goal, and it was good. And it was 17-15 at the end of the 3rd quarter. And in the 4th quarter, the Dolphins had to punt after going 3 and out, 3 plays and 9 yards. And then this was the Bengals got to 4 and 13 at the Miami 39. McPherson's 57-yard field goal was good, and it was 2015 Bengals. And then Miami intercepted. It was our 2nd interception of the game, which actually cost the game. Teddy Bridgewater pass deep, middle intended for Gretzky, intercepted by Bell at the Cincinnati 9. Bell to the Miami 45 for 46 yards, and the Bengals got the ball back. And then the Bengals scored their 3rd touchdown of the game. It was a Joe Burrow pass short to Hurst for the 2-yard touchdown. And it was a penalty on Miami's, I think it was Riley, Damon Riley or something like that, defensive holding penalty. And then McPherson's extra point was good, and it was 27-15. And then Miami had a downs. There was a turnover on downs. Teddy Bridgewater's pass incomplete to Tyreek Hill. And it was a 4th and 4 to Cincy 45. And then the Bengals got the ball back. And then all Joe Burrow had to do for a couple of plays was just kneel. And that was, nonetheless, the Bengals beat the Dolphins 27-15. And so I got to give the game balls to Joe Burrow. 20 of 31 carries and attempts, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon, 24 attempts, 61 yards, 1 touchdown. And it's T. Higgins. T. Higgins gets a game ball as well. 124 24 yards, 1 touchdown, 7 receptions. And Cincinnati is at 2-2. Miami goes to 3-1. They fall to 3-1. Actually, there is a 4-way tie for first place in the AFC North. I forgot. There is a 4-way tie. Because all 4 teams are 2-2. So that was really one of those games that could go either way. Oh no, there's a 3-way tie for first place because Pittsburgh fell to 1-3, and I'll tell you that shortly. Now we'll get to today's games. We'll do that and actually do one right now. This morning's game that was at 9:30 a.m. at Northumberland Stadium, Development Project Stadium in London, England. The Minnesota Vikings beat the New Orleans Saints 28-25. And boy, this was one of those games where New Orleans had it, and they had a chance, and they just couldn't do it. And but they looked good though, and but I think they really had But I got to give the game balls to Kirk Cousins, Delvin Cook, and Justin Jefferson. I got to give them to them. They get the game balls as they really look good today. And Minnesota's defense really looked good in this game today. And we'll get to the other scores in just a moment. But right now, it's time to reveal the answer to today's Scott Sports 101 NFL Football Sunday Week 4 trivia question. Who was the Green Bay Packers head coach in 2007? If you said Mike McCarthy, you are correct. 3 of the last 4 coaches the Packers have had were named Mike. His record for the first 2 seasons of 25-11 was even better than Vince Lombardi. And as you know, Mike McCarthy is the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys now. I will have another trivia question on my next podcast, which will be tomorrow on my Monday Night Football pregame show, so stay tuned for that. We had a lot of upsets in Week 4 of the NFL this week, but it was a tough loss for the Cleveland Browns today as they lose 23-20 to the Atlanta Falcons today at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. The Browns didn't score any points on 4th downs today in today's game. And I'm going to recap that game. I'll give you the recap of that one. That's what I will do. First quarter, the Browns had a turnover on downs. It was a turnover on downs, I think. I got to see what it is. It was 4th and goal, Atlanta 4. Jacoby Brissett pass incomplete. Short right to David Njoku. And so the Falcons got the ball. And Myles Garrett and Javon Klein did not play. And that was a huge blow to the Browns defense. Hopefully they'll be back next week for the game against the Chargers, which they need to win that one. I want us going to 3-2. I don't want 2-3. Then Atlanta got to 4th and 12 at the Cleveland 12. Koo kicked a 30-yard field goal, and it was good. It was 3-0 Atlanta. Then the Browns fumbled the ball. Oh, another thing that was costly today in this game is a fumble as well. Jacoby Brissett, short pass. It was a 2nd and 6 at Cleveland 12. Jacoby Brissett pass, short left to David Njoku to the Cleveland 23 for 11 yards. Hawkins fumbles, touched at the Cleveland 25, recovered by Evans at the Cleveland 29 to the Cleveland 31 for -2 yards. And Jedrick Wills had a penalty on Cleveland. It was an offensive holding, and it was declined. So Atlanta got the ball back again, and they scored their first touchdown of the game. It was, I think, Chris Patterson, I think is his name. I can't remember, but I'll tell you in a minute. Left in for the 13-yard touchdown. Koo's extra point was good, and it was 10-0 Atlanta. And I'm trying to figure out. I got Cordero Patterson, excuse me, who scored that touchdown. That was my fault. My bad. Then the Browns scored their first touchdown of the game, and it was, let me get it here, it was a 3rd and goal at the Atlanta 4. Jacoby Brissett scrambles right, tackle for the 4-yard touchdown. Cade York's extra point was good. It was 10-7 Atlanta at the end of the first quarter. In the second quarter, Atlanta had to punt after going 3 and out, 3 plays and 6 yards. And I will be right back and finish this recap of this game right after this. Stay with us.